Okay, it looks like we're live. Hello, Jaya. How are you today?
Good, James. How are you?
Doing good, thanks.
Good.
Yeah. So, welcome everyone to our session of Bringers of the Dawn. It's currently January 29th of 2025. And we are going to discuss chapter 8 in the book today, which is called Outside the Ultimate Tyranny. I was outside my house a little while ago and I looked up at the stars and I saw Venus, which is extremely bright today. So the atmospheric conditions are cool and dry in North Carolina. And so we've got great views of the stars. And Venus is super bright. So wonderful. And then also visible is Jupiter and Mars. If you find Jupiter, the Pleiades star cluster is not far away from it, and you'll see it. So I saw that tonight again. It's
Oh,
very, every time
good.
I see the Pleiades star cluster, I can't, now I just think of the Pleiadians, you know?
Yeah,
So I feel like we've got a good connection with the Pleiadians.
yeah, especially with this reading of this book.
Have you been out and looking at stars at all this winter, Jaya?
Yeah, I sometimes go out just to look out the sky, but we have a lot of street lights in
Oh,
our neighborhood.
yeah.
Sometimes I can't see well unless I go outside of this neighborhood.
Yeah. With bright lights around, the only thing you'll see is Venus. Because
Mhm.
Venus is so bright, I mean, I don't think anything can stop that one. The other ones be
Yeah.
harder.
After this class, I'll go out and try to see in the backyard where there are
Yeah.
not no street lights.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I guess we'll begin with our meditation. It'll run about 10 minutes then, and then we'll talk about the book. So, if everyone would please sit in your meditation posture, what you prefer. I recommend sitting upright, straight, and it prevents one from sleeping during meditation. Um, Cross your legs, or if you're sitting in a chair, cross your ankles and clasp. I mean, not clasp, but interlace your fingers is probably one of the better ways to hold them because it prevents them from moving around. Interlace them and relax them on your lap. Take a deep breath in and then let it out. And then maybe one more deep breath in and then let it out. And now we just relax in our posture. Keep the attention on the natural, normal breathing. We won't control the breathing, but we'll let it flow in its own natural way. And keep your attention focused as well as you can on your breath. If you're distracted by any thoughts, bring your awareness back to your breath. If you have feelings, watch your feelings. Okay, masters, let's take another 30 seconds. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Rub your hands together. Place them over your eyes. When you're ready, take them away from your eyes and look at the palms. Okay, I hope everyone had a chance to find the stillness within. It was a good meditation.
Yes.
Okay, so today we're going to go through chapter 8 in Bringers of the Dawn. So it's called Outside the Ultimate Tyranny. I'll do the usual where I read some things that I think are really interesting and do a little discussion, and we'll see how it goes. So the Pleiadians say the ultimate tyranny in a society is not control by martial law. It's controlled by the psychological manipulation of consciousness through which reality is defined, so that those who exist within it do not even realize that they are in prison. So this is kind of insidious, right? If you don't know you're being controlled, but that's the idea, right? The frequency of control is designed such that it shouldn't be obvious. And in fact, it should be very subtle if it's going to work over a long time. Because if it's obvious, then people can
Yes,
easily cast
realized.
it off. Yeah. So awareness is key, as usual. What do you think, Jaya?
Yeah, true.
So the Pleiadians say they do not even realize that there is something outside of where they exist. Right. Most people only see a limited version of their self and they don't know that there's something outside. The Pleiadians say we represent what is outside of what you have been taught exists. It is where you sometimes venture and where we want you to dwell. It is outside of where society has told you that you can live. You have been controlled like sheep in a pen by those who think they own you, from the government to the world management team to those in space. I like their I like their terms. Government is one we all know. World management team is interesting. It's capitalized all the words.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't heard it um, put like that before, but I think I know what it means. I think it means those in positions of power because of money or other things that dictate worldly power. So the world management team, the billionaires, the corporate captains, those who are actually sitting behind the political landscape and actually controlling it. Because if you think about it, a lot of people think that, oh, it's politicians who run the world, the president of this country, the president of that country. No, that's at least one level removed from the true power centers that control the world. Those politicians are being told what to do by the real power brokers, especially in the United States, because of all of our elections are financed by companies or people who have lots of money. We don't do public financing of elections. And that's a big issue because without public financing of elections, who owns the politicians? It's those people who supported their campaigns. And look and see who they are. It's big corporations. Those are the ones who are in charge ultimately. Okay. So the Pleiadians call them the world management team. I like that. And those in space who we may not be aware of. The Pleiadians say, you have been deprived of knowledge by frequency control. One of the big themes in the book. And the frequency of control is fear. It's what we've been told by the Pleiadians. It's fear. If you don't do something, then this bad thing is going to happen. Or if you do something, which isn't what they want you to do, then this bad thing is going to happen. So that's our frequency of control that we want to be aware of so that we have the option to break free of it. Let me go on. The Pleiadians say frequency control limits the number of stations you can tune into. As members of the family of light, you must anchor new frequencies through static chaos and bring them into the physical realm. So the way I understand this is, we're stuck on one station here pretty much. And the one station we're really tuned into that we got is fear. And all the other stations are static. If you're one of the few lucky ones who actually has more awareness, you can actually tune to the other stations, but most people can't. And so my question is, can you tune into the frequency of love? Okay. So what we're looking for is the reality that transcends fear. If you want to break through, you have to find the truth. What's real? Fear isn't real. Um, fear is being in a state of ignorance and not knowing what's real. So the question I have is, can you tune your frequency to the frequency of love? That's the challenge here. And a lot of people say, well, how do you do it? I don't know how to do it. Understandable. If you've never done it before, you don't know how to do it, right? And there's lots of ways to do it, but it takes things like letting go, detachment, giving up judgment. Those are the ways to do it. And it takes some practice, intentionality. So that's the way to work on it. Okay, I'm going to skip down a little bit into the next page. The Pleiadians say, as the planet accepts this new frequency, and that's the frequency that we, as the family, the members of the family of light, are tuning into. Okay, you and I, what are we tuning into? I'm choosing the frequency of love. That's what I'm tuning into. But you could tune into what you relate to. You could tune into light, however you see that. Information is another one that the Pleiadians talk about. So our job is to tune this frequency dial, and as we tune into the new frequency, uh, other people on the planet are going to benefit because they're going to get some awareness, even if we don't speak to them, but just by the fact that we're tuned to a frequency of love, eventually it'll seep into their awareness. And they say, here's the Pleiadians, they say, as the planet accepts this new frequency that you have worked very hard to obtain, those at the end of the domino chain will receive it. So it'll eventually fall like dominoes. At the very beginning, where we are now, there's a few people tuning in, but it's going to take a little time for those dominoes to start falling, but eventually others will receive it. This new frequency is called knowledge, light, and information. It is called being taken out of bondage. You are being taken out of disinformation and misinformation, and you are becoming informed. You are coming into light. You must begin to part the jungle of self and find the clearing so that you can show others the way. That's an interesting sentence. Think about that for a second. You must begin to part the jungle of self. This jungle of self with a small s is the identity that we have made for ourselves. It's not necessarily the truth, but it's what we have chosen. How have we chosen to identify? If we haven't chosen love, and this is me talking, if we haven't chosen love, then it's very likely that we've chosen fear. And there's relatives of fear, anxiety, worry, anger, resentment, I mean, pride. There's lots and lots of relatives, but they all come from the same place. It's misidentification. And so that's the jungle of self. These thoughts that upset us, that's the jungle. We got to clear those away. So we got to find the clearing so that we can show others the way. Okay? Clear out the mind, find the stillness within. When we meditate, we find the stillness within. That's clearing out this jungle. The Pleiadians say, sometimes you will show others the way, not by speaking to them, but just by maintaining, living, and working on your own frequency and having the courage to do this. So, so basically what they're saying is if you just do this yourself, that's the important thing. You don't have to necessarily go out and tell all your friends and all your family and all your coworkers and become a preacher. You don't have to become a preacher. If you just work on this yourself, and other people will just by hanging around you, they're going to feel this new frequency and it'll seep into their awareness. So that's the beauty of it. You don't have to take a second job going and telling everybody. You can tell people if you want to, but you don't have to, you know? Okay, let me continue. The Pleiadians say many of the beings who have incarnated as members of the family of light came to the United States because this is the land where you can make the most progress. Now, I like here how they call out a country, specifically the United States. Okay, this is interesting. So they have some awareness of what's going on planet Earth. The Pleiadians say this also happens to be a land where denial is pervasive. You believe that you live in the land of the free and the home of the brave, and yet you live in the most controlled experimental society on the planet. And if you didn't know that, it's time to start thinking about it. That's me talking, okay? I have an awareness of this. I don't disagree with this at all. Not at all. I live in the United States. I've lived in the United States all my life. And I don't disagree with this. I have an awareness that it's true. This is a very controlled society, but it's done very subtly. It's done such that the controllers don't want you to see it directly. Maybe a little indirectly, but preferentially you're not aware of it at all. Okay? So I think it's true. Okay, let me go on. The Pleiadians say the tyranny that has been set up here is rather interesting because it is a tyranny without walls. As a country and a collective consciousness, the United States still has not reached an awareness that something is not right. Okay, as a country and a collective consciousness,
Mhm.
we don't know. We don't know that this is going on. We just don't know. Now, some of us know because we're in this family of light and we have a better awareness than your typical average neighbor that you see every day. They don't know, but the more we're aware, the more we know. And so meditation can help to clear your mind and increase your awareness. And so let me go on. The Pleiadians say the environment of the United States is actually much more controlled than that of the former Soviet Union, where control was obvious. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, it's capitalist society, here. So what do capitalists want? They want to maximize capital, right? That's the goal. Everybody needs to maximize capital. And the captains of the industry, or what do they call them? The world management team. They want to use all this human resources that we have to put them to work in their companies and hopefully pay them as little as possible and extract as much out of them as you can. So it's I mean, you got to look at it that way. What's going on here? Are we being humane in society? Are we treating others as we want to be treated? Or are we using others to advance our own selfish gains? And we have to think about it that way. How are these companies and these organizations that employ people, how are they treating people? Are they treating them fairly? Are they paying them fairly? Are we getting compensated fairly? Or are we basically working for nothing? It's a question that only you can answer. I can't answer for you because I'm not, I mean, not in your position, right? I'm in my position. I know for me, but I think when we look around and I think we can kind of get an answer. I think we kind of know what it is, but I don't want to say it. All right, let me go on. The Pleiadians say because everyone is so frightened of giving up the system in the United States, they're going to be forced to give it up. The system is corrupt. It does not work. It does not honor life, and it does not honor Earth. That is the bottom line. If something does not honor life and does not honor Earth, you can bet it is going to fall, and it is going to fall big time. That's the Pleiadians saying that. Now, I can certainly come up with a lot of examples about how our system does not honor life and does not honor Earth. And I think others can find examples. If you just think for a minute, you can probably find some examples. Um, Honestly, we could be doing a lot better of a job as a country regarding honoring life and the earth. Um, I'll kind of leave it at that. I don't want to poke anybody or say anything that offends somebody, but I just think these are points for self-reflection and points for contemplation. And if everyone just thought about it for a minute about, hey, how are we as a country, as a government, not honoring life and not honoring the earth? I think ideas will hit you. And once you see it, there'll be ideas for how can we change that? How can we make it better? Because like the Pleiadians say, if this is going on, then the system's going to fall and it's going to fall big time. Eventually it has to, because there'll be a limit as to, what Earth will put up with. Earth is its own being as well. And Mother Earth will put up with a lot, but eventually she's going to put a stop to some of this. Okay, the Pleiadians say consciousness must change. This is part of the divine plan. And this opportunity and setup are not going to be missed. There has been an over-involvement in the material world and a complete lack of understanding of the non-physical world that exists all around you. So there will be a reprioritizing of what comes first in life. People will stand up once they have lost everything, who had never thought of standing up when they owned everything. People will awaken to the incredible potential of themselves. We've seen some of this where people have lost everything recently. In Los Angeles, the fires, big, big fires all around Los Angeles. Lots of homes were burned. A lot of people lost everything. And it's really, really, something. I heard also in the news that insurance was canceled for a lot of people who live in the area, particularly fire insurance. I don't know anything in depth about this at all, but within a few months before the fire started, a lot of people lost coverage on their house for fires. And like I said, I don't know the details, but whoever that happened to, it just compounds the disaster because now they don't even have insurance. So it's already happening, right? Um, okay, let me continue. The Pleiadians say whenever a people are separated and they focus on what they do not have in common or label themselves different from others, it's a perfect disguise to keep them from discovering what they do have in common. Okay. So whenever people are separated and they focus on what they don't have in common, so whenever we're only looking at differences, this this group, that group, men, women, white, black, racial disparities, what have you, old people, young people. We can see differences everywhere we look. But this is the way that the controllers control by getting people to see differences, not commonality, is what the Pleiadians are saying. Okay. So it's a perfect disguise to keep people from discovering what they do have in common. This separation keeps people from banding together and becoming very strong, right? So it's the old divide and conquer principle. And it works well. It works very, very well. That's why it's used. Divide and conquer. This is how countries treat big countries treat small countries. Divide and conquer. This is how colonial powers were able to colonize countries. Uh, they would go into the country and they would stir up trouble by saying, "Look, this group is different than that group," and get people to fight among themselves. And then it's easy. Just go in and take over. There's nothing to do, you know? You got no resistance. So this is something that it's amazing that people don't see this. I think it's amazing. Um, it's such an old play, power play, but it still works. Okay, let me go on. The Pleiadians say much of the political maneuvering going on, particularly in the United States, is purposely designed to separate you. Now, think about this. This was written in 1992, 33 years ago. And the political maneuvering just keeps getting more and more outrageous, right?
Yes.
And it's very divisive, if you get entrained into these, political issues, you're going to support one candidate and then you have to hate the other candidate. If you support this one, you have to hate that one because that's how it's come. It's that's how things have come. It's amazing. Um, this is designed, the Pleiadians are saying this is designed to separate you. So my question is, are you falling for it? Are you falling for this trick? If you're aware of it, you won't. But the problem is a lot of people aren't aware of it. That's the problem. All right, I'm going to skip down a bit in to the end of this page. The Pleiadians say modern technology is one of the biggest weapons of frequency control. You have been sold devices for entertainment and convenience, and they are all involved with frequency control. We recommend strongly that you get rid of your television sets. They are the primary tool used to manipulate your consciousness on a day-to-day basis. Okay, keep in mind this was 1992 and we didn't have the smartphone yet, and
Mhm.
computers were very archaic and not certainly not in everybody's house. But the television was very, very prolific at that time, and I think it still is. Um, and so the idea here is that technology is being used to control people. Um, I feel that this is true. I I've gotten away from TV naturally. When I was younger, I used to always watch TV. I used to always turn it on and see what the shows were and kind of just fall into it. And then the mind kind of becomes mushy. Um, I've gotten away from it. I don't watch it at all. The only time I ever watch a TV is if I go to visit my mom and dad because they always have it on and they always insist on watching something.
Mhm.
That's it. I don't watch the TV other than that. Um, and I think this is good advice. We also have the smartphones now, and so they're not talking about the smartphones, but
Mhm.
this is just the other thing, right? How often are we just doing this thing on our phone, And it's the same thing,
It's
it might be
worse.
worse. I don't know.
Yeah, it is worse than television.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's probably worse than television. It's
Mhm.
more addictive even than television because you can carry it around with you. You can just get it out and just zap your mind with it at any time. And this reminds me to put it down. Just put it down sometimes. When you don't really need it, put it down. Give yourself a break. Okay, the Pleiadians say this experiment, and they're talking about the televisions now. This experiment is so finely tuned that you respond subliminally to disease via the television. So there's an entire generation that is killing itself by watching television and supporting the medical society while they are doing it. So, so think about that. That's kind of interesting. Watching television can make you sick, is what the Pleiadians are saying.
Mhm.
Some people might, whoa, wait a minute, stop, slow down. I don't get that. How is it making me sick? Okay, here's my insight into this. How is it making a person sick? We are subject only to what we hold in mind. Okay. If you hold this thought in your mind and you put the power of your belief behind it, your energy is going into it. It becomes true for you. So the television is very suggestive. It will suggest lots of things to you. Oh, I don't know, don't do something or do something. There's advertising. So advertising is one of them. Buy this product because hey, it's the best, like drink a Coca-Cola, right? That's what they say. Drink a Coca-Cola. Oh, go out and buy this beer, not that one. And it's all about, getting you to buy products and selling you things that you don't need. And a lot of these things are bad for you, but of course nobody's going to tell you that, right? I mean, You're going to say, hey, this soda tastes great and it's going to give you a lift. And you're going to say, okay, I'm going to go get it. And, but you don't see the downside of it, right? And so, um, and it's not just that. It's not just that. It's also the thought that you hold in your mind. I think that's really
Yes.
the part that leads to ill.
Draining energy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It can block thoughts that are fear-based, and I'll just say there's fear and there's love. So fear is the extreme, love is the extreme. But for me, love is truth and fear is illusion. Okay. So if you hold fearful thoughts in mind, the way I see it is these thoughts will block the flow of cosmic energy into your body. Cosmic energy, you could call it spiritual energy. It's absolutely required for the body to function properly and normally and healthy. And if you don't get it at the correct level, then illness will develop. And so that's why I think the Pleiadians are saying, look, people are sitting around watching TV and they are killing themselves by watching all this TV. And then they're supporting the medical society while they're doing it. And the doctors in the medical society say no. They say, well, there's big money in sick people, right? I've actually talked with people who work in the medical field, and they've told me that there's big money in sick people. There you have it.
That's their business.
It's a business. Yeah, it's a business, right? And it's unfortunate that it's just a business,
Yeah.
It's just a business. Unless you happen to come, if you are sick and you do go to the hospital, there's some very great, people who work there, who are genuinely interested in caring and they work with love. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't have that mentality and they are in it because, hey, this is a business. We're doing this because it pays the bills, and that's the only reason we're doing it. And then how effective is the treatment going to be if it's given with that attitude? Yeah, not as effective as it could be, honestly. So, okay. The Pleiadians say, look around you. Wake up, humans. It's true. We need to wake up. Wake up, humans. Okay, the Pleiadians say most of the subliminals on television are done through technology that was developed in conjunction with off-planetary beings. The use of subliminals to upset human consciousness has become a worldwide program. If you think about the houses that have two, three, and four televisions in them, you must agree that this has been a very successful marketing program. Some people who know about the subliminals on television feel that they are immune to them. However, the effects of television are so permeating that no matter how clear you say you are going to be, you cannot counterbalance what the technology is presently doing to your vibrational frequency. I remember when I was in high school, I was taking a science class, and my science teacher told us about these subliminal messages that are in the TV and especially in advertisements. And that was the first I ever heard of it. I had absolutely no idea about that before. But my science teacher was a very smart person, and he knew it. And he told us.
Yeah.
Um, so that was nice to get that information
Yeah.
because you don't generally hear about that kind of thing.
Mhm.
It's a danger of TV, you know? So we have said that there are entities who feed off your emotional bodies. Think about what a clever tool television is for them. All over the world, billions of humans are emitting emotional juices into the atmosphere based upon what they are watching on the tube. They don't have to have too many wars anymore to get you all riled up. They can simply make movies. Then these entities feed off of your negative emotional states. Okay, the Pleiadians say people who need to watch television are not tapping into the wealth of information within their minds and immediately accessible all around them. As a matter of fact, if you really want to evolve, do not read your newspapers. Do not listen to the radio and do not watch television. That is amazing, amazing advice. And you never ever hear this. I don't know. I mean, I've heard this from honest people, but it's very, very rare we get this message, right? Don't read your newspapers, don't listen to the radio, and don't watch television if you really want to evolve. You might say, well, what's wrong with reading a newspaper? It's just the news. It's a lot more than the news. There's a lot more in a news article than just the facts. If it was just the objective facts, it would be a whole lot shorter. These news articles can be very long. And when you start looking at why is it so long, you start seeing the messaging that the writer has for you because they want you to take a certain point of view. They want you to have an opinion. It's not just here's a fact. This is what happened. X and Y occurred, and then Z happened. Those are the facts. It's all about why did this one do that and that one do that, and then some judgments and some, and so newspapers you got to be careful with. I agree. I agree. Watch your newspapers. If you need to be informed, search for the facts, but just keep it at that and let all the other stuff go. Um, the Pleiadians say, if you are able to be media free for periods of time and you disengage yourself from the frequency of chaos and anxiety and stress and hustle bustle and temptations of all kinds that you don't need, you begin to get clear. You begin to listen to what is going on inside yourself and to live in the world and not necessarily to be lost in it. You become clear. We cannot emphasize this enough. I once went on a retreat in France. It was an 8-day retreat, and we were instructed to put down the cell phones. We had no TV. We had nothing. It was out in the country. It was very remote. And we were told, put down your cell phones, no computers allowed, and nobody use any communication devices at all. And that was an amazing, amazing week to be free of your cell phone and not look at one single news item.
Lot
Say,
of
try it
time.
if you can. Try it. It's hard to make it through a day like that anymore? Okay. The Pleiadians say electronics also jam your frequency. Even when they are not specifically designed to jam your frequency, sometimes there's incompatibility between the electronic frequency of something and yourself. Plus, as we said, many of them are designed to create static so that you will always stay at a certain vibratory rate, turning you into safe, harmless, inactive, and productive cattle, right? So, think about that the next time you keep your cell phone in your pocket and you say, "Well, I'm not going to look at it. I'm just gonna carry it around in case somebody tries to call me." Well, there's electronic frequency always with that cell phone. And if you carry it in your pocket, it's always directed right at your body. So you might want to try to turn it off and leave it somewhere and walk around without it for a while and see how that goes. Okay. So the Pleiadians say, what about computers? The second most predominant piece of hardware in the United States is the computer. How many of you go to work on computers and end up getting headaches, particularly when you work for large corporations and are hooked up to their mainframe. Large companies are into aspects of mind control. They use your minds to generate energy to achieve something for themselves. Personal computers are not as potent and powerful. And I believe what they mean is they're not as potent and powerful as your mind. Okay. So think about that. It's good to be aware of it. Okay. Um, Let me go on. The Pleiadians say some new inventions are going to surface in the 90s, very underground inventions, because they will never be given patents to be promoted in the marketplace. There will be a whole underground economy based upon barter, in which certain inventions will be traded between people. There will be technologies that can counteract much of the frequency control. These technologies can change the quality of your air and water, and they can eliminate and seal off your home so that you are an integral of energy and nothing can bombard you. All right. So some people might be wondering, well, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
Um, This is the 1990s, 1992. So here's what I'm thinking this means. I went to the Mega Meditation Summit in Morrisville, North Carolina in 2024. I think it was at the end of August. And we had some guests present. Well, I'll just say his name. His name's Robert Potter. He came and he was talking about some interesting pieces of art. I'll call them art, but I don't know what he called them. But they were like pendants and they had intricate designs on them. And he recommended that you wear it, a nice pendant. And he was talking about how it could shield you from negative energy. And it's just metal, but it's configured in a certain geometry. And he really seems to know all about it. And so he's a person who lives in Mount Shasta, California, and he makes these things by hand, by himself. Robert Potter, you can look him up. He has a website. He is the author of something called The Promise Revealed. Um, it's the only thing I really know that I can relate to as far as this goes. What are these things that never got patents, but that can shield us from these negative energies? That's an example. Otherwise, if there's other examples, I'm not aware of it. I'm not really sure what they mean here. I mean, I can actually give you another example. Well, I think. So I read the book Autobiography of a Yogi, and they were talking about the um, bangles, the arm bangles that were recommended for people to wear, and they were made from a combination of gold and silver and copper all intertwined and bent then, and you would wear it around your arm, or you could wear it as like a bracelet. And it was Sri Yukteswar who was recommending to his students in the ashram to Paramahansa Yogananda to wear this certain bangle. And it was to protect him from negative energies that were coming from certain planets that Sri Yukteswar said would harm Paramahansa Yogananda if he didn't wear these. And he told Yogananda at the time, he said, you're still going to get sick, but it won't be nearly as bad as if you weren't wearing the bangle. And so that's in the book if you're curious about it. And if you're super curious about it, you can search the internet and you can find somebody who makes these bangles according to Sri Yukteswar's recipe. So I do remember that. And I think maybe that's another example of one of these unpatented devices that can be used as a shield from negative energies. Okay, so let me continue. The Pleiadians say television is not necessarily bad in itself, but it has been put to ill purpose. There's nothing wrong with technology. It's how technology is being used that's the bottom line. Okay, that's what we got to keep in mind. Pleiadians say the education system is another area where you are controlled. Most of what you are taught is malarkey. And I think there's probably a lot of truth to that, unless you're getting taught, some basic science and math concepts. Um, some of the stuff that we teach is really malarkey, and you got to just use your awareness. Okay, keep it in mind. Required classes in college, you got to take them. Otherwise, you don't
Mhm.
get your degree. But if you go into it knowing that, hey, some things are worth more than others, you can kind of protect yourself. Pleiadians say education is actually the pursuit of knowledge, and knowledge can come from a walk in the desert. It does not have to come from flipping pages in a book. It is not harmful to explore a little bit of schooling, but don't buy into the idea that what you are being taught is correct. You are controlled and separated by issues that strike at the core of your emotions. This is what you have been taught, that you are powerless and can only be saved by the mood of the gods, which has never been the case. Those who find their lives taken by accident or violence select it. Think about that for a minute. Those who
Thank you.
find their lives taken by, I don't know, like I say, accident, right? Oh, it was an accident. Or by violence, like violent crime. Those people selected it. Maybe not in their human awareness state, but in a different state of consciousness. They already agreed to it, or it wouldn't have happened. Okay. Sometimes people are taken violently or by accident, and it's because it's to teach others something. And it's hard lessons, very hard lessons to learn. There can be reasons for it in that we need teachers. And sometimes this is how we get a teacher through these, what we would call tragedies. Um, and so the Pleiadians are basically saying there are no accidents, right? Those who find their lives taken by an accident, well, no, they selected it. Okay? There's more of a reason behind it, right? There's nothing in the universe is an accident, basically. We all know that. Nothing in the universe is truly an accident. Okay. The Pleiadians say the pro-life abortion issue has been purposely orchestrated in the United States by different factions within the government to create a lack of harmony. Divide and conquer, and you own the people. Allow the people choice, freedom, and the ability to continuously improve their lives, and you cannot own them. Whenever people oppose people, those in control benefit, even down to the issue over abortion. Right? It's the old divide and conquer strategy. All right. I'm going to continue on here. The Pleiadians say violence on the streets of major cities is another subtle means of control. The big cities in the United States, Los Angeles, New York City, Washington, D.C., and so on, are energy buckets or holes where energy comes into the North American continent, or has up until now. There's been an increase in violence in these cities because it is known that if unrest can be kept brewing and reported, it can be a likely vehicle for manipulating the entire nation. These things are purposely set into motion on the physical level and assisted on the etheric level because the more fear that is generated, the more those in charge can feed on it. So bad things happen in cities. Lots of crime, lots of violence, lots of accidents. Okay. The Pleiadians say, you have been raped of your life force. If there's anything that you, as members of the human species, have in common, it is that you have been raped for your emotions. Others have played your emotions as though they were instruments, and they have never let you know the power you have with your emotions. I always like to ask myself, why do people belittle emotions? Why do they kind of say sweep it under the rug? You know, kind of like statements like, oh, real men don't cry, you know? I mean, so you're not supposed to be in touch with your emotions, right? And if you show your emotions, then you're labeled weak or crazy or, who knows, maybe worse. Maybe they'll say you're weird and don't associate with that person. They're too weird. And so there's some ulterior reasons behind it, right? And they don't want us to know the true power. Emotions carry a lot of power. And if we're in tune with them, and if we're in sync with them, and if we're keeping them within our awareness, we might learn something. And so you might try it yourself when you have an emotion. Instead of trying to shut it down, my suggestion is sit with it for a while and just watch it. Maybe it has something to teach us. Maybe the emotion is coming up for you at that time because now's the time for you to have this learning experience. Okay. And so maybe it's important to stay with it and be aware of it for a time and not shut it down. That's my suggestion. Okay. So the Pleiadians say always this whole story comes back to emotions. Emotions are like tickets that get you places and plug you in. You are incredibly rich. If you would only realize how wealthy you are with your emotions. The lower vibratory beings, if we may be so bold as to call them that, exist off emotions in a very small range of frequency. Emotions that are based on fear, chaos, and violence. The ability to use the human will, okay, so the ability to use the human will over the human mind is your ultimate resource. Let's keep that in mind for a second. The ability to master the body according to your will is exactly what the people in charge of the planet do not want you to figure out. Mhm. So what might they be saying here if you think about this? The ability to use the human will over the human mind is your ultimate resource. And we need to think about that. Everyone is so focused on how I can use my mind. How can I use this logical reasoning mind to get something? And what's the something we're always looking for? Well, it's got to keep this body surviving, right? So it's money, right? I got to get that money. I'm using this mind to figure out how I can get more money, right? And so the Pleiadians are saying, wait a minute, wait a minute. The ability to use the human will over the human mind is your ultimate resource. This ability to master the body according to your will is exactly what people in charge of the planet don't want you to figure out. Because if you could master your body according to your will, you wouldn't need all that money. You would just be a master. We can tap into it. We only have to want to. We only have to get clear, find our will, and put our energy behind it and say, I'm an unlimited being. I don't accept this illness that's in my body. I don't agree with it. I'm canceling the thought that allowed this illness to appear. I'm using my will. And eventually you're going to be a being in good health. You're not going to have all this sickness. You're not going to have to go to the doctor. You're just going to have good health because you are willing it. I think that's one of the things they're talking about here. If
Mm.
you could truly use your will in such a way, then the people in charge of the planet wouldn't be as in charge anymore because now you don't have to go to the doctor. Now you don't need so much money anymore. Now they have less ways to control you. So I think for me, this is a very, very key point in the book and also in this chapter. Um, and it's a point that you could easily miss if you read this quickly and didn't think about it much, especially because the wording here is a little strange. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's a great message. Let me go on. The Pleiadians say always look at an issue from the perspective of the bigger picture so that you have neutrality with it. For the picture gets bigger and bigger all the time. The planet is headed for a major confrontation with certain entities. We are simply pointing this out. We are not here to promote fear. Fear is what the other team wants you to feel. We want you to understand that you can change anything you want to change. This is going to be a game of numbers in the future because you will work together to bring yourselves to a place of empowerment. We are asking humans to come into full function as members of the family of light by imaging and energizing the pillar of light and pulling it inside the body. Command it. Make it your intention every day to operate with a cordon of light. For light frequency connects you and fills you with protection and information. Feel it move into the base of your spine, down your body, and into the earth, as well as coming out of your solar plexus area like a fountain and forming a golden shield of light around you. As you use the solar plexus area to determine what is going on, you will learn discernment through feeling. So the solar plexus area is an area where a lot of feeling can happen, especially
Gut
feeling.
feeling.
Say again, sorry.
The gut feeling.
Yeah, the gut feeling, right? The gut feeling. Sometimes we have fear in the gut or anxiety or we're worried, and you get that gut feeling. It's like, oh man. And that's telling us something. And it's good to pay attention in those moments, right? And the Pleiadians are talking about this light and this cordon of light and how we should pull it inside of the body. So for me, that's the frequency of information, the frequency that's being broadcast maybe by the higher self, the one that's been sort of blacked out, right? But we can tune into it by using the power of our will. If we truly will it, it can happen. And then they're talking about how the light can flow down and down, up and down the spine. Okay. It can move down your body. It can move into the earth. Um, And so this is important to know about. This is another way of thinking about this is kind of like the cosmic energy. How does it enter your body? Well, some people say it comes in through the medulla oblongata, which is at the base of your skull, and it can enter the spine there. And so you might feel energy currents in your spinal area. You might sometimes feel that your brain is energized. And it can be this sort of cordon of light image that they're giving us. Okay, the Pleiadians say the Earth's owners have not wanted humans to understand that their feelings and emotions are like a crop, such as wheat, that can be harvested. If you are in charge of your own harvest, then others cannot take advantage of you and use you unless you decree it. When you operate with a certain frequency and sovereignty, those who wish to control you are not interested in you. They want a fearful, chaotic frequency, which is what nourishes them. Fear and chaos have predominated on this planet because these entities have stirred them up. They have divided and conquered everywhere to create that frequency. When you operate in peace and love and with information, you alter the structure of this place drastically. You bring choice of frequency back to this planet. So I would say, ask yourself, how often do I operate from love? How often do I operate from fear? Be aware of that. Ask yourself, can I be more aware? When I see the fear or its related feelings and emotions, can I become more aware of it? Being aware of it, when you become aware of it, what happens? For me, what happens is it subsides. Okay, so the false has to subside when we put our awareness on it. Only what's true can remain in awareness. Okay, so ultimately, if you meditate a lot, you'll find feelings of peace and joy and love. Those are what survive when awareness is present. Everything else drops away because it's not true, it's false. So when you feel the fear, can you be aware? And in those moments, can you use your will and say, I'm going to choose love? Something to think about more and more if you can. So that's chapter 8. As we've gone through it, and it was a very nice chapter. I really like this chapter. It's a great message here. Um, what do you think, Jaya? Do you want to add something?
Yeah, this I like this chapter too. It's like very related to the real life situations we are in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
You
beautiful.
see all these wars in the world and all these people killing each other, and it's so senseless. And you say to yourself, why is this going on? Why are we doing this? It's senseless. But this is the reason. This is the reason we're doing it. There's some entities that live off of this and they benefit. Interesting. Do we want to keep supporting them? It doesn't seem to make sense. So anybody watching this, hopefully they can take that away, and people who read the book hopefully are getting a little more insights. I you know I get these thoughts. Sometimes things aren't as clear in the book as probably they need to be, and I get some thoughts, and I hope those thoughts help others. So
Yes, definitely.
good.
Yeah, we can understand, we can take things like we can understand things. Each of us can understand things a little differently
Yeah,
from the book. Yeah.
everyone has a perspective, so
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, James, for the wonderful session. Yeah,
Oh,
actually,
certainly.
it
My
was written
pleasure.
33 years back, right? So back then, there were no smartphones. That's why they mentioned only about the television. But now we can relate now with the smartphones. But
Hmm.
now, yeah, like how they mentioned, how we use this technology, even nowadays, even television also, there are good stuff like a lot of spiritual documentaries and series and movies. So, how you
True.
see your perspective, how you see them, how we use the technology, it all depends.
How we use it. Yeah, you're right. And it's and nowadays too, the thing is, we can select programs that don't involve all the commercial advertising. Back in the 90s, it was almost impossible because you would just turn your TV on and you get the a broadcast over the air and everything had commercial advertising. And that's where a lot of the subliminal messages were. I don't know how much they put them in movies and programs. I honestly really don't know much about it, but I know it was definitely in commercial advertising. And so nowadays, I think it's a little, probably like you said, it's a little better because we can select certain programs that we know are good, like spiritual programs, and we can watch those without commercial advertising. So that's appropriate use of the television.
Mhm. Yeah, and one
Yeah.
more thing you mentioned about the bracelet that Paramahamsa Yogananda wear, right? So,
Yeah.
like last week, I saw the picture, the Paramahamsa Yogananda wear the bracelet and the armlet. It contains the nine jewels. Is that right?
Oh, oh, nine jewels. It may. So, I know when I read Autobiography of a Yogi, I think I don't recall exactly all the details, but the recipe that Sri Yukteswar made for him, I think may have been a little different, or like he would talk about having certain formulas or recipes for the
Yeah,
bracelet.
yeah. That nine jewels called Navaratnas, each nine jewels, each jewel related to one solar system, one planet.
Oh,
So
yeah, yeah.
all nine linked with our nine planets. So
Mhm.
that's why the protection comes from this jewels.
Right, right, yeah. And some had jewels with large carrots. Yeah, yeah,
Nine jewel, each jewel related to one planet.
yeah,
Moon,
yeah,
for moon, it's pearl. So
yeah.
like that, each planet has some specific jewel. So that will give the protection. So that's what recently last week only I read that I saw that picture.
Oh,
So
you
in
were
the
reading Autobiography of a Yogi?
just and came across that some pages. I follow some
Yeah.
page.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, and so I've seen some photographs too of people wearing them, and at first I was thinking, what is that? What is that? And then I remembered, oh yeah, I was talking about the bangle in the book, the armband or the bangle or the bracelet. And sometimes if you look at the Self-Realization Fellowship monks, sometimes you'll notice one of them might be wearing that. When they give I go to the website once in a while and I watch them give talks and I've noticed them wearing it. And so that would be fun to try if anyone's, interested in trying. Well, how can I get some protection?
Yeah,
That or
usually in
something that
India,
Robert
they
Potter
go-
made, maybe?
yeah, usually in India they go to astrologers. Whatever
Ah.
lack they have some lack in right in the birth charts, they specify some specific jewel to wear, like one particular gem.
Oh, I see. Okay. So if you can't afford one, you maybe you can rent one for a while, you know? I don't know if that's possible though. I might not trust you.
I don't know. I don't believe in them.
No,
I
yeah.
I don't. Yeah, that's just me.
I don't know. I like certain things like pendants with if I feel a strong connection to one of the saints, I kind of like to have a pendant with the saint on it. I think it's nice. I, I feel like it can help, but I don't know that it's got to be anything in particular like what Robert Potter makes or like the particular formula of a bangle that Sri Yukteswar recommended. I'm not sure that we need it. I think if you have something that you like, I think it can serve the purpose. It's my opinion. I honestly don't know. So,
Yeah, until we reach to certain frequency, we can use all those help like a
yeah,
two additional tools.
it
Mm.
helps you to reach the higher vibrational frequency. Yeah. Yeah, I think
If
that's
we
the
reach
purpose
to
of it.
higher frequency, we don't need anything. Everything is inside us. It's just we can protect ourselves with our thought also. Everything through our belief system and thought.
Yes.
Yeah, true enough.
Yeah,
All right. Anything else to add tonight?
Do we go with the summary or
Sure. Do you want to read a summary?
we close it? Sirisha, we go with
yeah,
summary.
sure, go ahead.
Yeah, the chapter 8 summary, like the brief summary I have here. I'll read it out. Chapter 8, outside the ultimate tyranny. The ultimate form of social control is not through martial law, but via the psychological manipulation of consciousness, leading individuals to remain unaware of their confinement. The Pleiadians suggest that they represent knowledge beyond societal limitations, advocating for a change in perception. People have been controlled through frequency manipulation, limiting the variety of knowledge accessible to them. As members of the family of light, there is a call to reintroduce new frequencies that promote empowerment and understanding, facilitating personal and planetary transformation. Pleiadians say each individual is undergoing a mutation process which alters their personal frequencies and contribute to a collective awakening. The importance of becoming keepers of frequency is also emphasized, where individuals must command their emotional and physical realities to heal and guide others. Pleiadians say the United States is characterized as highly controlled society, often compared unfavorably to more overtly oppressive regimes. A systemic reckoning is anticipated due to the current corrupt structures, with consciousness rising to challenge materialism and separation instilled by political divisions. And Pleiadians also say political ideologies are designed to separate people, hindering unity. Issues like taxation could serve as a catalyst for collective action and solidarity among the populace, driving individuals to awaken to their shared experiences and grievances. Pleiadians also say modern technology, particularly television, is critiqued as a tool of frequency control that imposes emotional manipulation. Audiences are advised to disengage from mainstream media to regain clarity and personal insight, suggesting that true education stems from personal experiences rather than institutional learning. They also say the text suggests that emotional turmoil fueled by politically charged issues like abortion is a tactic to disrupt unity among people. Manipulating societal fears maintains control over the masses, hindering individual empowerment. Pleiadians also emphasize self-control over emotions. The authors argue that the true power lies in mastering one's frequency and will. Unity and empowerment are positioned as essential components of collective change, encouraging individuals to embrace their sovereignty. They also say humans are urged to visualize themselves as pillars of light, fostering connection and protection from negative frequencies. This visualization is presented as a means to harness decrement and discernment and foster communal strength, ultimately transforming the vibrational state of the planet. In conclusion, this chapter closes with a motivational encouragement for individuals to take charge of their emotional and spiritual harvest, resisting manipulation by external entities, emphasizing the transformative power of love, peace, and choice. It calls for a reclamation of sovereignty to significantly alter the societal landscape.
All right. Very nice summary. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Yes, yeah, got it.
All right. I guess we should probably close it there then. Yeah. Okay. So we'll meet again next time and talk about chapter 9, Profound New Boundaries, and we'll see what that's all about. So it'll be next in a week from today when we meet. So everyone have a good evening and